They lost it. Let me see it.
Look up Adam Schefter.
The Raiders.
Free!
Bro,
Oh my God! Let's go! Let's
oh, fucking nigga.
Oh! The freedom bell ring got me flying like a free! Flying like an eagle! Let's go!
Imagine having $1 million, and I know a lot of people would be able to maybe retire or start a business or do something nice for yourself and for your parents and family and friends with $1 million. Now, I want you to also stop and multiply that times 30. Now, if you're a math major and you did the math, you now have $80 million. The guy that's on the screen that you saw in the thumbnail and that you currently see in this current screen, this guy at one point was the highest paid NFL wide receiver and he had over $80 million pre-tax. And if you do the math again, minus taxes, you still roughly have probably maybe 40 to $50 million. And this guy blew it all. In this video, we're gonna go over why Antonio Brown is now bankrupt. Now, this isn't a video to celebrate somebody's downfall, but I wanna kind of go over some of the things and the occurrences and incidents that have perhaps have led AB on an astray path. I'm your host, Bearded Aquarian. This is All Things Considered, and we're about to get into it. Let's go. So let me attempt to paint a picture for you as it relates to AB, and I'm talking about the younger AB, the humble AB. So AB, he gets an invite out of Eastern Michigan to the NFL Combine. And let me tell you that the Combine is probably one of the most grueling processes that there is in sports, because you have to show all your measurables, all your intangibles. You take a Wonderlic test, which is at your IQ. And Antonio Brown gets the invite. He goes and he excels. And then the cherry on top of the sundae is he ran the fastest 40 time of all the participants in the 2010 NFL Combine. And I can tell you that if you display superhuman speed, a 4.3, a 4.2, or 4.4, you got wheels, you're gonna get selected. So he gets selected in the next to last round, because there are 7 total rounds in the NFL draft, but he gets drafted 6th. He gets drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I consider and respect the Pittsburgh Steelers organization because they're a solid franchise, and they got, I believe, 6 trophies, so they know they're doing something right. Now, I'm a Raider fan, and it depends on who you ask, right? If Franco dropped that ball or not. But this video isn't about that. This video is about Antonio Brown. But as I'm illustrating or trying to articulate that, he had an opportunity to play in the NFL, and usually somebody who gets drafted in the latter part of the draft, you have a very short tenure. You may bounce around in a couple practice squads and play for a team. You may suit up half the season, or if somebody gets hurt, or even if you don't start, you'll be on special teams. That doesn't happen. Antonio Brown immediately signs with Pittsburgh, signs a 3-year deal. It's about, I think it's $1.28 million. He gets about a little over $73,000 for a signing bonus. Now, something interesting happens after he's drafted. He actually begins to excel. He actually starts to show that he belongs. And again, he had a very humble beginning, because he didn't play for a Power 5 school. He didn't play for an Alabama, a Florida State, or Miami. He didn't play for a LSU. He played for Eastern Michigan, and to make it from Eastern Michigan and then to get to the Combine, to get selected, to basically have all the odds stacked against you, you make it to the team and you're excelling. Not only that, you obviously signed your rookie contract. So now you're a millionaire. Even a little bit after taxes, you still have the right to call yourself a millionaire because you made it thus far. Within the first 2 years, his production exponentially increases. Pittsburgh decides to reward him with over $40 million contract. And not only that, he has an $8.5 million signing bonus. So you want to get the signing bonus because that's upfront money in football, because as with baseball and NBA, their contracts are fully guaranteed based on their CBA or collective bargaining agreement with their respective owners in leagues. And so as AB starts to, as I stated, he was great. Not only that, he continues to excel. He gets paid. He continues to actually put up astronomical numbers in a short period of time. And he starts going to the Pro Bowl. And in my opinion, he becomes an elite receiver. He's a top 5 elite receiver. So fast forward about 6-7 years later in 2017, because he is an elite premier performer in the NFL, now he gets over $68 million with $19 million signing bonus. And he makes $17 million a salary. And so you get paid over 17 weeks in the NFL. That's excluding the playoffs. You get a playoff check if you advance and get all the way to the chip and you win that. But I mean, you have gone literally from making $1 million to now making virtually over $60 million. How phenomenal is that? And I want you just to do the math again, and realize how fast and how short a period of time, in less than a decade. And the average career span for a player in the NFL is 5 years, and you've been playing going on maybe 5-6 years, and you're still excelling. You haven't even kicked in. You're almost at your peak to where you're in your prime. And
oh boy,
yeah, because he hit me right in the head right before I hit the turf. Yeah.
Memory loss?
A little bit. My coach was telling me I was smiling and talking to him like they thought it was regular, but I didn't recall any of it.
What would you say to Burfict?
He's an idiot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's got a history of this.
Yeah.
And I thought at the time they knew just don't do anything stupid and they win the game.
Exactly.
So it felt like, hey, the rivalry, what happened in the previous game, Le'Veon Bell getting hurt, like there was bad blood there, and they let that get to them. Is that the feeling you got, that Burfict just says, you know what, we won this game, let me just pop you?
Absolutely. And that what cost them the game. In that situation, Burfict and Pat Jones cost them the game. From the hit to the personal foul, allowed us to make the field goal and advance to the next round.
How tough was it to have to watch that next game?
Well, it's extremely tough, man. Anytime you at home watching the game, when you're so used to being with your brothers every weekend and being able to put your hand in the pile and be the reason we win and help us win, it was frustrating.
How close were you to playing in that game?
Yeah, it was no way possible. Yeah.
Doctor said even if you tried to lie, did you try to lie?
I tried.
You did?
Yeah.
How do you try to lie to the doctor that?
Tell him like I'm all right, man. I'm pretty good.
But how do they know you're not?
Chance to win. And so in March of 2019, after finally getting his wish, a trade is negotiated between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Raiders give up a third and a 5th round pick. So those are pretty good picks to give up, but there's undeniable production. He's a perennial All-Pro. He's a number 1 receiver. He's a star receiver. And they agree in terms with a contract, a 3-year deal worth a little over $50 million with $30 million guaranteed. That was initially reported by Adam Schefter. He was the first to break the news. And then it came actually up to about 54 and a half with incentives if he had reached those incentives. And so, as you know, his tenure, or AB's tenure, with the Raiders was a tumultuous tenure. It was a failed tenure. I think that Gruden and Mayock and even Mark Davis, they just didn't do their homework. They didn't do their due diligence. They got there, and usually on paper, if you look at it, AB's a sort of a Raider guy. He's a malcontent. He's a contrite. He's a different type of player. And the Raiders are usually thrive. And as I mentioned, the Raiders are my favorite team. I'll never cheer for another team. But on paper, it looked good. You have a over $50 million deal. You have $30 million guaranteed, and you have a guy who's disgruntled, who has a chip on his shoulder, but has laser sharp focus, and he wants to be great, and he wants to help put the Raiders back to prominence, because they hadn't been prominent since really the early 2000s, which the 2002 MVP Rich Gannon. I'm gonna add that, but nonetheless, he starts his tenure out. He has frostbitten feet based off from a therapy session. So you have that. That's the first strike. Very peculiar, very different. But hey, we'll give him some grace. We'll allow him to make amends. And hey, things happen. So now you have a snowball effect now, because now you have the issue where he files a grievance with the league regarding his helmet. The league is all about player safety now, and enhanced measures with technology and newer equipment. is designed to help to reduce CTE, excuse me, not reduce CTE, but reduce concussions and things of that nature. So you lose the grievance there. You basically got to eat it because you're a professional. You win some, you lose some. But now you stop showing up for practice or you're late. So the Raiders said, you know what, we got to put this guy on notice. We need to make an example because we can't have other people thinking they can do it. He gets charged $54K by Mayock, and so AB loses his shit. He gets upset, he gets angry, and he has to be restrained by other players because he wanted to basically tear. Now this is all alleged. So again, I wasn't in the room, and nobody else probably watching this video was in the room. Had to be him and Mayock, Mike Mayock had to be separated, and so there were some things allegedly stated. They're probably less than honorable, which I'm not going to bring up on the video, but nonetheless, you have bad blood, and it's already early, and the guy has not even played a single game for the Raiders, and you invested technically over $30 million in the guy. So not only that, you continue to go through the progression, you miss all these practices, and so then the Raiders realize that the verbiage in the contract states that, hey, he actually fits this particular issue where he's violating the terms and conditions of the contract. They renege on his guaranteed $30 million. So AB gets upset, and so you see the antics that he pulls. If you go look at the beginning of the video, and that's a viral clip because he says he's free. I think he's bullshitting because he's trying to act like he's just so elated and overjoyed, and really he isn't. It's just reverse psychology. Really, he's sick to his stomach because he just missed a lost $30 million because he simply didn't do his job. And then he asked for his release, and then he gets released. Ironically, because in the NFL, when you have talent, you're going to get picked again. So the Patriots come calling on the same day. They call him the same exact day. Brady's still there. And they need another receiver. They need a perennial number one receiver. You already got Gronk, but hey, you could just add to the masses because you just this prolific winning franchise. And so they signed AB, and they signed him to a 1-year deal, which they convert to a 2-year deal, and then they incentivized it, and he could have made as much as up to $20 million for this deal. He plays in his only game in the Patriot uniform down to Miami, which to me is a full circle moment. He has a great game, catches a touchdown, and then the bottom falls out yet again, and then guess what? He gets released. So now what you see is a pattern of impulsiveness, of being uncooperative, insubordinate, and very erratic and irrational in his decision making. And that's what you generally see in Antonio Brown. And so he's starting to scare execs off. Nobody else really wants to touch him. But somehow I think behind closed doors, after he gets released from the Patriots, he actually contemplated retirement and actually teased at the notion of retirement on Twitter. So he goes to Twitter, he does this, he calls this major uproar. I won't say uproar, but it's viral because people are perplexed and shaking their head because he's in his prime. He wants to retire, but then he reneges on that less than a week later. And guess who comes to call him? Tampa comes calling because Tom Brady's now in Tampa, and Tom Brady has just that has that ability to motivate players to, I would say, behave or to just keep their head on straight. So like with Michael and Scotty and Dennis, to where, hey, we just need you to do what you need to do so that we can win these rings. And AB was hungry, and I think he was a little bit focused slightly because he wanted to get that, he wanted to get that Lombardi, he wanted to get the Super Bowl ring because really that rounds his career out. And so yes, they actually get, they win, they beat the Chiefs. Obviously, everybody knows that, and he actually, he signs for, I'd say probably it's a small amount because again he's blown it. He's shown that he hasn't been worth the trouble to pay an exorbitant amount of money because there's too much overhead that comes with it. But nonetheless, he plays for the next 2 years, or at least probably the next 2 years, give or take. And then again, the bottom falls out, or I think he's just done. This is what seals his fate in the NFL because all of the other 31 teams are watching as well. The New York Jets game where he gets into it with Bruce Arians, and they just, they're having a verbal disagreement. And I can tell you this: when you talk back to a coach, and not talk back because he's a grown man, but when you voice something out and you air it in public and people can see it, that you're not going to play for that team anymore. And so if you remember June Jones and Jeff George, they had a spat on the sideline. This is way back in the day on Sunday Night Football. You know what happened with that. Jeff George never played another down for the Falcons again, and actually ironically ended up playing for the Raiders, and that tenure wasn't successful. But nonetheless, he goes and he has a meltdown. He's upset. He takes off his uniform, at least the top half, and then it just kind of casually jogs, and just people kind of perplexed and wondering what's going on. So I think in summary, he had a storybook career because you start obscure, you start very humble, and yet you still manage to make your way and you ascend through the ranks. Nobody sees you coming, and you just basically take the mantra as the top dog. Because when AB played, he came to play, and you see the highlights. You see, you're looking at this video, you see a prolific player, technical, sideline catching, deep throws, special teams. I was so excited when he was with the Raiders, but I think he lost his focus. And then I think that ego's always going to be the undoing of anyone. I believe he thought he was much bigger than the game. And you have to realize that you're going to be humble if you continue to act up, if you continue to be, a person that's going to rock the boat. And people are going to get tired of your ways. I don't care how much of a winner you are. At some point, you're going to wear out your where it is welcome. And I think a couple things. I think in summary, I think that he lost his humility. I believe that ego stepped in. I also believe that he perhaps may have some type of head injury. The Burfitt hit in that playoff game with the Bengals, that may have been the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the recurring issues and the instabilities of Antonio Brown. Prolific player, great player on the field, questionable actions off the field. But that's my take on it. If you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscription or subscribe button, and share the video. This is Bearded Aquarium for ATC, and see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.